Bob would be 97 today if he was still embodied, so I put out a little snippets of a few of his past birthday parties together with some pointers and some interview. It wasn't very creative, but it is all about Bob, so you can look at the celebrations, just 1 minute with big crowds and with COVID lockdowns, no crowds whatsoever. And further along you will find some unpublished on his channel pointers. And then a conversation I had a week ago with Bob's dear friend and student Cameron. I will put links to the full films in the screen so you can subscribe to his channel, because he's also saying he's got hundreds of beautiful podcasts that he has recorded 20-30 years ago with Bob, so it will be worth it to be a subscriber. So that's our 97th today.
But when they use the term omnipresence, omnipotence, omniscience, total presence, total power, total intelligence, implying, again, not three things, but three aspects of the one, there can be nothing outside of that totality. So if you've got the idea you're going to get to it or get something, you've got the idea or concept, there is God and me. And I will become one with it if I do certain things. So again, the way they're pointing out clearly and quite obviously there can be absolutely no duality in non-duality. And yet we are seeing dualism all around us. What appears to be dualism all around us? The manifestation out there in nature, the world, and within yourself, constantly appearing dualistically. Couldn't be day without night. Couldn't be silence without sound or movement without stillness. There could be no manifestation if it wasn't appearing dualistically. And what is it appearing to? Isn't it appearing to the separate me, the believed in separate me or I, which is not realised or grasped that that's an appearance also. So an appearance seemingly appears to an appearance. So what needs to be done? And who can do it? We say investigate. We say start from the fact you are already that. And there is no other. And if we say investigate from that point, who are we telling to investigate? There is no other. The investigation must go on quite naturally and effortlessly. Just like the sun shines, the earth moves around the sun. Seasons coming and going, tides coming out, all in the appearance. It's appearing to happen. No greater proof of the power of your love have you shown me than this. That when I had no being, you brought me into existence, and when I went astraying afar from you, you brought me back to your service and taught me to love you. And of course, if you've got some concept of what you think that power is, and if you realise it's the natural state, the true essence, realise it was always so. Well, it's up there as well as it is everywhere else. And as you pointed out, every when. Well, there's a lot of the sticks and that point to devotion. And devotion can manifest in two ways. Either in love, loving everything, or compassion.
Yeah.
And that's a natural form of that. If you understand your true nature and the nature of everything, how can you not love it? And how can that compassion not be there? If you've got no division from it and no separation. You know. So compassion is a natural manifestation of that devotion. Loving yourself, honouring yourself, worshipping your own being, as Muktananda put it. And put in some of the other scriptures, you know. You love yourself, you know, and how love your neighbour as yourself. How can you love your neighbour if you don't love yourself? So that compassion or love has got to shine out and express and see it as everything. So compassion is not something we have to acquire or learn. It's naturally there in everyone. And you felt it, you know it. Each one of us knows it. We've had tastes of it. So this believed in entity there, we're seemingly establishing ourselves there all the time. There's nothing really there. It doesn't mean to say that things won't happen. There is no one to do anything, but things appear, play around and disappear. All irrelevant, we see simply because when you try to demolish it, get rid of it all, you're starting again from the belief that you are that separate entity. And it can't happen. But if you start from the fact you already are that, all that needs to be recognised is what's seemingly obscuring it. And you don't have to get rid of what's obscuring it either. You realise that, you know, that obscuration is it also appearing as different. But you know that all the manifestation is that appearing as different, so there's never any time or place or anywhere at all you could be away from it. Never have, never will be, or never could be. Even though it's seemingly believed to be so, and while that belief was going on, it was still it. No one to do it. But the thing, you know, the no thing, or the doing, happened. Like it, there couldn't be any manifestation if it didn't vibrate dualistically. See that in nature. Have a look in nature. Nature is suffused with that same awareness or intelligence energy, if you like. I like to call it intelligence energy. But we're no different from nature. You're not separate from out there in the universe or the cosmos at all. And nature manifests in the pairs of opposites dualistically. And it couldn't be any other way. Couldn't there be day without night, or could there be silence without sound? There couldn't be one without the other. But they've got to have some thing, some seeming subject for being an object, or some division there. But with us, we've got the reasoning mind, the capability, and that patterning, dividing the same way as it does in nature, but we take one part of it to be real, the believed in entity. That's not. Realise that subject-object is dualism, isn't it?
Exactly,
And the way it's appearing, manifesting, shaping, doesn't that imply a wondrous intelligence that can form a tree, a blade of grass, and, you know, or an insect, or form a galaxy or a star, or and the same thing that forms this pattern, this human pattern. Doesn't imply a wondrous intelligence in that. So when are you ever away from it? When you know that.
Introduction for the people tuning in who don't know me or don't know you or don't know either of us. Wow, where do I start? So the big photograph behind you on the table.
Yeah, he's everywhere.
Yeah,
He's
Bob.
everywhere.
Yeah. Bob was my guru for 35 years, I guess. Your husband and partner for how long? How long were you two together?
9 years and 9 days.
Right.
Wish there was more.
Yeah. And so I thought it's been, how long's it been? When did Bob pass? It was early this year, right?
Yes, 5 months and 2 days.
Not that you're counting.
No.
I wanted to have you on, talk about Bob, talk about your journey into non-duality, and just to catch up, really, because I haven't seen you since he passed. I haven't seen you for a couple of years, I guess, the last time I was in Melbourne and came to visit you guys.
Yeah.
So, why don't we start with your story? Why don't you tell people how you came to be in Bob's life?
Oh, well, I guess I was really strongly identified as a spiritual seeker for most part of my adult life. And life brought me to Australia in weird set of circumstances. I never had any desire to come here, but I was an offshore worker. I was a sailor, so it didn't really matter where I live around the world because I was always sent to work. I was paid for my travels. And so, okay, Australia it was. I came to his meetings and it was blatantly clear that he is not the teacher, that he is actually describing the persistent state of well-being in which he is residing or abiding. So right from the first meeting when I heard him speak, it was obvious that he actually described his natural state, not teaches or theorize, whatever is the word, about something. And then because I worked at sea, I was sparingly showing up every couple of months, maybe for the first year, and it was 2013. Then the next year, I was showing up a little bit more often as the level of psychological suffering was growing up. My attendance was growing up too. I was coming more often. And by nearly the end of 2015, I was actually pretty much listening only to him, not guru hopping, guru shopping, checking everyone else anymore, but really focusing on the way he structured the message, listening to the same spiel and really having it starting to unpack. And by the end of the year, the suffering was amplified to the point of almost madness. And I had my one and only individual meeting with Bob. And that individual meeting ended psychological suffering in one beautiful blast of realization that the thing that I assumed myself to be is nothing. There's nothing. I am not my emotional self. I am not the vulnerable, pitiful little miserable, suffering thing. That is an object in consciousness and not who I am. And that one was basically that extinguished. In that moment, it was clear that there is no more questions to be because there is no one to ask them. So there is nothing else to be found because there is no one looking. So suddenly all the spiritual search disappeared, dropped away, never to come back. I never had another question. So that was the time when I started hanging out with Bob. I would call him next morning because, of course, at this point, he has seen over the nearly 50 years of his pointing, 46 years, whatever, of his pointing to people, relentless and patient pointing to countless thousands, momentary realizations which wouldn't last. And next morning, there would be nothing left of it. And there would be a self that trying to grasp to the experience that it has and wants to come back to it and rebuild it. So when I called him next morning, radiant, laughing, I say, look, there is nothing I need to ask you, but I just want to hang out as equals. And that was something that I would never even conceive of, considering him, the guy, the enlightened, the master. That was pretty shocking. And it was quite sweet because he consistently said yes for a few months. And as we were radiating that joy of being and expressing naturally what lands, because the unfolding only started then. Things started landing, things started showing themselves as obvious. And there was radiance and there was joy and there was something that just a normal animal body would understand or interpret as flirtatious or encouraging. At least, Bob was absolutely convinced that I'm totally just lying around and wow, this is an amazing dream. Just kind of flirting with him. And he said, nah, I'm not into, I don't need anyone in my life. He wouldn't ever say it. But that wasn't my experience. I wasn't flirting with him at all. So a few months later, the situation came when he took me out for we were shopping, we were eating, we were having lunches, we were doing all things together because it was just a natural thing to do. And the friendship between us was just so, like a fresh air, so beautiful. And at some point, he actually grabbed my hand and looked into my eyes. And that was a shock of discovery. Ooh, there is another dimension here possible. And even though it might have looked like my joy and radiance was some sort of a flirtatious behavior, it wasn't in my experience. But at this point, I just could feel that, wow, that's fascinating. What a possibility. Well, let's dive right into it. Let's full body yes. Life is offering an adventure which was unthinkable only a second ago, but now it is there on a silver platter. And that's how our life together started. We were still hanging out. I went to my ship, working as a ship's navigator, ship's officer. I was calling him 3 times a day. And then before the next contract, he asked me to maybe pause a little bit and give it a chance. Let it try, see how it is going to work out. And in a couple of years, he's not going to be around anymore because he's already in his late 80s. So there's a very slim chance that I'm going to lose my license because I can be away from work for 4 years, and then 12 months in 5 years will keep my qualifications. And luckily, I lost them all with absolutely no regret, because when I paused that offshore work for alleged 2 years, it stretched out to over 9. And that was the most beautiful adventure that life could ever offer. The dream that I wish everyone to touch upon, to even experience, something that Bob never called a relationship, because there was no relating going on. There was just, he says, the oneness, the one coming together, natural joining, in which the love reflects itself in the other. And even though he was my equal, he wasn't my teacher. He stopped being my teacher at the end of the previous year. I did worship him as a husband, because he was like a god. He was, oh my God, what a beautiful, beautiful man. Just so, everything that he was just love. And I was his goddess, and he worshipped me in the same way. And that just, when you love one like thyself, you never hurt them. You always support them. You always build them up, encourage them, give them, put the haven in their feet. And that was the life we had. Every day, everything up until the last breath. Hard not to miss that.
So let's unpick some of that.
Yeah.
So what was go back to the moment you said that it all went away for you. The illusion fell apart. Can you remember what the insight was and how it came about in that moment?
Yes, that was the point when the psychological suffering caused by, it's always caused indirectly by the identity, but at this particular point, it was the identity that was projected on me, on my ex-partner.